Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you one of my favourite hacks for winding your unsettled, colicky, burpy baby. And this is the way that works with their physiology and not against it. So if you've got a fussy baby, if you're going through those witching hours and you want to help your baby become more settled, this technique can be a game changer. So when we talk about windy babies, it's really important for us to understand how exactly they get to that windy state. And as a lactation consultant, but also as a nurse and a postpartum doula and mumma myself, I've had my fair share of fussy, windy, colicky babies. And so it's nice to look at, well, what can the cause of that windiness be? And when we look at wind, when we look at gas in babies, that intestinal gas, it comes from one of two places. The first one is air intake. So this can be either when mum has, for breastfeeding mummas, a very fast letdown or forceful letdown. That means baby's taking in a lot of air at the breast. It can be maybe a baby who's got some sort of tension or a tongue tie there, a restriction that's stopping them from being able to maintain a really good seal around the breast. And so they're doing some extra noises, some clicking, some slurping where they're taking in air as they feed or nurse. Another reason could be if your baby is very unsettled and having a lot of digestive discomfort in between feeds and they're doing a lot of excessive crying. Of course, they're taking in a lot of air that way as well. The other way that our baby can end up having a lot of tummy discomfort is when gas is, instead of just taken in, it is created in the gut. And of course, with this, winding is not going to resolve that discomfort. This is generally some sort of food intolerance or sensitivity to something that mama is eating. It can also be a case of there being too much milk. Check out the other video that I did all on that and just an idea on how you can start to get on top of that if that's what you're dealing with. Too much milk is not as wonderful as it sounds. It can lead to a whole host of other issues. So looking at that video might give you some ideas on how to manage the symptoms, not only for you, but for your baby. And so understanding where the gas comes from one of two places, either coming in through the mouth, generally down to a latch issue, baby not managing the milk flow as well, or some sort of oral restriction. Also could be a lot of crying. And the other one being creation in the gut. So generally seen with kind of funny, frothy, maybe some blood-stained, quite mucousy stools, lots of very smelly farts, a lot of fussiness and gurgling going on in the belly. This will not be resolved by getting that air up, winding your baby. However, for the first case, it can be. And so this is my tip for settling those windy babies with my wonky winding technique. And so for this fussy little baby and this wonky winding technique, we want to understand how we can work with our baby's physiology. And so when we look at our baby's physiology, we have to understand that it's not simply our stomach being a ball and a straight line up for everything to come back out again. The reason that these winding techniques work with a little bit of movement or a little bit of circling or a little bit of gentle swaying is because the movement helps to tip. If you imagine this little air bubble here, tip the stomach to have a nice straight line to come up. There's always that little bubble that's sitting there that's difficult for the baby to pass. And if we can create a nice straight line, baby from the stomach, the sphincter of the stomach, that opening to where it can come out up through the esophagus, we're going to be winning, and baby's going to be much more comfortable because this is a really gentle technique. There's no patting, there's no excessive jostling. This is a really wonderful technique for a baby who wakes the minute you go to wind them. So if you want your baby to have that nice restful sleep as they've done a nice big feed, this is how you do it. You pick up your little baby and you hook their chin over your clavicle here, so your chest bone, your breastbone. Pop your baby's chin on your right hand side, your right, and you pick up the bottom and swaying it slightly to their right. So mama's right, bringing baby to their right, and a little bit of a diagonal. You also want there to be a little bit of pressure on the tummy, so you might lean back the tiniest bit or just give a little bit of coziness here. And with this gentle wonky winding position, you're creating that nice straight line for the air bubble to pass really gently and really easily for baby. You might need to just hang out here and have a little bit of skin to skin time, a little bit of a cuddle after a feed. You'll hear that little burp happening without doing anything else. You don't need to be patting or rubbing or bouncing around the room at all. although you might find that helpful for babies a little bit unsettled. I'm going to share another video where I share my top tips on how to settle an unsettled baby. But wonky winding technique, we're talking about baby, chin up to the clavicle, hooked over there to keep everything nice and open and straight. Baby's bottom swinging to their right, so they're in a little bit of a diagonal, nice little bit of downward pressure and creating that nice straight line. Hang out here for a minute or so, watch your baby do that burp, and you will see a much more comfortable, settled baby. With any of these techniques, make sure that if you are struggling with breastfeeding, if you're trying to figure out and get to the bottom of why your baby is so unsettled, that you touch base with your local lactation consultant to get to that root cause. I hope you found this video helpful. Do check out some of my other videos on infant care, lactation and infant feeding. And I do hit the notification bell and that like button if you enjoyed it and found value from this video. I'm so happy to have you here, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video.